Hey, welcome. So we have Porter and Brooklyn today, and they'll look familiar because everyone should have turned their heads and raised their hands for you on Sunday. So we're excited to take this opportunity to get to know you a little better. This will be a lot of fun, and hopefully you'll feel loved and appreciated and welcomed in the Lord. So first, I would normally ask you how you met, but since no one knows anything about you, can you just share a little bit about who you are and where you came from?
Yeah, I'm Porter Farr. I don't know if you want me looking at the camera at you.
Either way, it's all good.
But I'm 22 and I'm from Utah. I grew up in Layton, Utah my whole life until we just moved here to Arizona.
Yep. I'm Brooklyn Farr. I'm 22 as well. I grew up in Phoenix and moved to Rexburg, Idaho, and lived there and got married and moved to Utah and now here.
Awesome, guys. So, how did you guys meet?
It's a very unique, well, not unique way of meeting, but
it's a fun way. Yeah, so we met on the mutual dating app.
It worked.
It does work.
Yo.
Yeah.
Okay.
She actually was the only date I got from that app.
1 for 1.
Yeah.
It's inspired.
Yeah. She was currently living in Rexburg and I was in Layton, Utah.
Yeah, so nowhere near each other.
She wasn't in my range, so like I wouldn't have seen her profile normally, but my family went on vacation to Sun Valley, Idaho in March of that year, and she must have just been in my range then when I was just on the app casually, and I must have swiped up on her and didn't think much of it. So then I come back down to Layton, and it wasn't until the summer, June.
The summer, I was driving through to go to the airport to come to Arizona, and I had mutual previously and then deleted it and then decided to get it back just to go on some fun dates when I was here. And while we were driving through Utah, I was on my phone and I had swiped up on him when I had passed in his range, and so it's a chance meeting.
Wow.
So
all right.
when I got to Arizona, we chatted a bit, and
she was bold and wanted to FaceTime and really get to know me. I was like, whoa.
All right.
We chatted on FaceTime the whole time she was in Arizona.
I was here for about a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then on our way back home, we met up in Logan, Utah for our first date.
Yeah. And our first date was 12 hours.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wanted to spend the whole day together as we could. I didn't know how far Rexburg was from Layton, so I was like, I don't know if I'll see her again.
So yeah, we spent 12 hours together and did all kinds of things. And then later that night, he asked if I wanted to be his girlfriend. He even said, he's like, I know it's super fast and you can say no. And I said, sure. I was like, we'll try it out. And
it's fun to cut to the chase.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
Wow. So how did it go after you skipped town?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Long distance sucked.
Yeah, we hated it.
But we saw each other every weekend.
Yeah,
either he would come and visit me or I'd come visit him. And
how long of a commute was that?
3 hours.
3 hours.
Okay.
So not too bad.
Not horrible, but
not
ideal.
fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we dated for about
3-4 months.
Yeah. And then got engaged. We're engaged for about a month and a half. Yeah. And got married.
Sweet.
Wow.
That is super cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun story for Marcus when he gets older.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Cool. Well, awesome. So now you're here, you're married, you got a beautiful baby boy, life is good, you're in school. What do you like to do for fun?
Me personally, my life is sports, other than, of course, being with Brooklyn and Marcus. I love to talk, play, watch all kinds of sports. It's just my jam. That's what I like to do.
Yeah. And then me, becoming a mom, I've had to find different things reading and singing, photography. I do that for fun.
We like board games too, tabletop games.
Yep.
Okay.
Movies.
We like to have game nights and watch movies. Yeah, we watch lots of movies.
Cool. There will be lots of opportunities I see in your future of getting together with other families in this ward, because tabletop games and movies are very popular
Yeah.
amongst
That's
people.
what we
So
want to try and do. We
Yeah.
want to meet people and
awesome.
branch out.
I like that. That's cool. That's very cool. So what is your guys' conversion stories?
I can go first.
Okay.
For me, I was born and raised in the church. I never really I never really questioned anything in the church. Growing up, I enjoyed going to church. I loved going with my family. I had a really great ward growing up and good friends, so I was always looking forward every Sunday to go to church. I wasn't like a perfect member or anything, but I just never had any faith crisis or anything. But I never really understood why I really believed anything. It wasn't until I reached high school where I was kind of like, oh yeah, why do I go to church? Why do I read my scriptures? Why do I pray? And I think where the greatest conversion I experienced in my life was on my mission. I'd always wanted to go on a mission. I wasn't against it, and when I'd gone on my mission, it was a great experience because I just felt like I got completely broken down to my core. Oh yeah, why am I here? And who am I as a person? Am I okay with what I do and what I like? And personal study was the best part of my mission. Was I got to learn a lot more about the church, learn a lot about me as a person and my relationship with God. I ended up reading so much over my personal study. I was able to read the Book of Mormon multiple times, the New Testament, Doctrine and Covenants, Bill of Great Price. I read Jesus the Christ, the Saints books, and I challenged myself to read all of Gordon P. Hinckley's talks. There's 200 of them. I read one every day. So it's a lot of reading, but over 2 years, I was reading all of this awesome knowledge, and it was so fun to learn more about the church history and learn about what President Hinckley had to say over the years. And I loved Jesus the Christ, and it helped me grow my relationship with my Savior. But at the end of my mission, I realized by teaching people and meeting new people and reading all of these great books that I started to understand why we live the law of chastity, why we obey the word of wisdom, why it really is important. And I'm not a perfect person, but it's been fun to recognize oh, I do love this. I love the church. I love keeping the commandments. I didn't know why I do this. And it's just been fun to grow my testimony that way.
Very cool. Awesome. Thanks.
So like Porter, I grew up a member, and I never had any questions or anything. I, was very strong in the gospel. It wasn't until I hit college that I was having a bit of a tough time. And, growing up, I was like, my testimony is super strong. But then moving out of the house, I realized I was so focused on my parents' testimonies for me to have a testimony. And so when I moved out and, had roommates, and it then was all on me to go to church and to participate in church things and, to give talks and stuff, I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I going to church? And, so for a while I didn't really go to church because I was too tired, or, my roommates weren't going, so I decided not to go. And I've noticed that I was less happy, and that was really hard for me. And so it took me a minute to step back and look at my life and be like, okay, I was super happy when I was doing these things, so why am I not happy now? And so it was hard for me because I love to do stuff with other people. And so when my roommates were like, well, we're not going to go to church, it was easy for me to be like, okay, well, I'm not going to go either. But then, like, one Sunday, they all were like, oh, we're not going to go. We, stayed out too late last night. I was like, no, I'm going to go. And we had 9 o'clock church, so super early in the morning. And I remember going and coming home and just being like, wow, I feel great. So I went home and I remember saying the most like sincere prayer I've ever said in my life, and just telling God like how grateful I am, and bearing my testimony to God, which was new for me, but just it was, I don't know, eye-opening, I guess, for me to see that, having the gospel in my life and gaining that testimony for myself was what made me truly happy, instead of trying to do what everyone else was doing. And, what am I trying to say? I guess just, I don't know, kind of lost my train of thought. But what I'm trying to say is just having that experience for myself instead of relying so heavily on my parents' testimonies and everyone else was just a great experience for me.
Yeah.
To realize that I do love the gospel and I want to be a part of it.
Yeah, sounds like you realized your accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Those are 2 very sweet experiences. Thank you for sharing that. You guys have a wonderful light about you. I gotta say, the lighting in here looks good, but the countenance of Jesus Christ in your eyes is palpable. It's noticeable. So you guys are doing a great job. Good job. What is your favorite missionary experience you have either had or have seen around you so far in your life?
For me, it would be when I was little, elementary school, living here in Arizona. Because there's the boundaries for our ward were so big, and tons of different schools and stuff. So in my grade, there were only 2 other members, and I like hardly talked to them except for at church. So most of my friends growing up were non-members, and I loved it. I loved talking to them about church, and they knew my standards, but they always asked me questions like, well, why do you wear this? And why don't you guys do this? And why don't you guys do that? And as a kid, I remember just loving sharing, like, oh, well, I dress like this because this is what I learned, and we're not supposed to drink coffee because of this. And like, I just loved seeing their curiosity about it. And I remember loving knowing that I had the answers to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
But what made it really special for me was when I would tell them these things and they'd be like, oh, well, I want to know more. Can I come to church with you?
Oh, cool.
And so I'd bring my friends to church and they'd come to primary with me. And it was always fun in primary. The teachers would be like, do we have any visitors today? And my friends would stand up and they, introduce themselves. And none of them ever converted to the church, but it was always a fun experience as a kid to be like, I get to share this with my friends. And so I enjoyed that.
How cool. Wow.
Yep, she was a little missionary. One of my favorite missionary experiences is on my mission. In my second area, when I first got there, we didn't have very many people to teach, but one of the ladies we were teaching was married to a member of the church. We'd reached out to him because he was less active. He hadn't gone to church in a couple of years. He'd served a mission, come back. He's still a great guy. He just, I don't know, for a reason, was just not going to church anymore. And his wife was not a member, and he had 2 kids that weren't baptized. And this lady was so sweet because she wanted to take her kids to a church. She wanted her kids to learn about Jesus and about God. And she had grown up Catholic, but didn't really remember much of her childhood in the Catholic Church. But anyway, we taught her for the entire time I was in my area, which I was there for 6 months. So it was a long period of not only teaching her the lessons, but helping her overcome her um, problem with drinking coffee. She just grew up drinking coffee her whole life, and it wasn't like it was a major problem, but she just couldn't. She had a hard time stopping it, and had a hard time like understanding why she needed to keep the word of wisdom and why it was important to change something that was a big part of her life. Um, and long story short, she was able to overcome this problem and fight drinking coffee and to kind of accept the word of wisdom and understand it. And that came with her husband's testimony. It was cool to watch her husband actually be reactivated in the church. He wanted to wear his garments again. He wanted to go to the temple again. He wanted to come to church again. And the light in his eyes just came back. He became this like excited and happier man. I was able to bear his testimony to his wife and explain to her how much fun he had on his mission and the good memories he had from church. And long story short, he ended up baptizing his wife. That was a sweet experience to watch. And then a year later, they were able to go through the temple together with their family and be sealed. And that was just like the cherry on top. I was just about to leave for my mission, and I was like, oh, so cool to bring a family together. It wasn't really just about converting somebody, but it was about bringing that light of Christ back into their home and then help them be sealed together as a family. And so it was just a really cool experience to watch.
Yeah.
Be part of.
That is very cool. That's awesome. I'm glad you got to experience that. I know that'll be something you cherish from now on.
Yeah.
Awesome. So when you face trials in your life, what is something you are what's something that uplifts you or kind of gets you out of a funk if you ever feel like you're in a funk?
We've been through a ton. Our first year of marriage has been not easy, which, a lot of maybe veteran couples could be like, oh, well, I could have told you that. But
We've had many trials to our marriage. When we first got married, we were hit with just thing after thing after thing. And it was hard to stay positive, hard to think like, oh, are we going to get through this?
Or like, this is ridiculous.
Like it was a joke how much we went through. But
I think what motivated me was actually her. I think just really working together. Like I still work on my patience and like especially with trials, I get really frustrated and like angry so fast. Like, oh, why can't I figure this out? But she's always been there to be really calm and patient with me and support me when I'm struggling. And I've been there when she struggles because we just have our moments. We have our hard times, and sometimes she'll be really positive about it one day, and then I'll be positive the next day. So I think we kind of push each other to keep going.
For me, it's just having faith that things are going to work out. That God hasn't forgotten about us. I know during trials, it can feel like you're alone, and nothing's going the way you want it to, and seeing all the stuff we've gone through and where we are now, it's helped grow my testimony on faith that God doesn't forget you. He's always there with you. And so that's what keeps me going, is like when we're going through something, I'm always like, it's okay, things are gonna work out. I don't know how it's gonna work out, but I know it's gonna work out. And I always have to tell myself that.
Yeah.
And it does. It always works out, whether it's the way we want it or another way. But no matter what trials we go through, we don't go through them alone. And having the knowledge of just having faith that it's going to work out and God's there with us has helped a lot.
Yeah, that's wonderful. my wife and I have been married a little over 11 years now. And I wasn't a member of the church when we first got together. But throughout our lives and the tumultuous times and the difficulties and stuff like that, it's gotten to the point now where we as a couple just laugh, right? Because we all have these things where it's like we constantly come up to these impossible situations, and we used to stress about it so much, and it would cause a little bit of contention in our marriage because we're scared, right? And now we have been received the blessings through those things when we look at an impossibility and God delivers something that is unexpected. We didn't even realize it was an option, and it was far greater than we ever could have imagined. And it's happened so frequently that the doubt or fear or those aspects have been pretty much removed. Now when we come, 11 years in now, we look at an impossible situation and we just giggle, because it's like, clearly the Lord is going to take care of us. We don't know how, but it's going to be ridiculous what happens as we are faithful to our covenants and strive to perfect ourselves on His name. Then it's just hilarious how it works out. So as I know, those things are not fun while you go in them, but ultimately the fruit of those trials is that you grow closer together. So I'm sorry you went through that, but again, I'm really happy for you that you're going through these trying times, and iron sharpens iron. You're only going to, the armor of God, as you continue to put them on every day, you're only going to get stronger. And then the world will eventually have no effect on your marriage because you are welded together through that adversity. Yeah. So that's very cool. And as a couple who have been together just another decade more than you, and then people who have been together 3 or 4 more decades than we have as our ward family, and you pick their brains about situations and ask for advice. Someone out there has always been through what you've been through, no matter how ridiculous and oddball and preposterous your situation feels. Everyone's kind of done everything. And it's so cool to go to them and say, you have 35 grandchildren and you've been together for 55 years and you're still doing it and you're happy. How did you do it? And then they tell you, oh yeah, well, we're not perfect. We all learn those lessons. So that'll be cool. I know people will reach out to you and give you sympathy for that, but also give you encouragement. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, guys. And, is there anything else you want the people of the Fraser Ward to know about you guys?
We're open to making friends.
Yeah.
We want people to reach out, and we want to reach out to people. We don't want to just.
I've been told I look angry with my resting face.
He's
I promise I'm
he's
not mad or
angry.
angry.
Okay.
We were very
really
nice.
calm
Not
and actually
threatening.
really shy, but we are open to meet new people. We're excited to be here.
It's a great ward so far.
Cool. That's awesome. Well, thank you for doing this, guys.
Of course.
I know people are going to see you and have a soft spot in their hearts for you and just welcome you in with open arms. And hopefully this will be a wonderful next stage in the growth that you will ultimately have as you graduate and grow your family and buy your first home and do all those things. So thank you for being willing to do this on a week's notice.
Yeah.
Striking while the iron's hot. You're going to be a popular couple here.
Yeah.
So that's
excited.
awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, guys.
Of course.